A very good evening to everyone. Firstly, my sincere thanks to ICFI Business School for inviting me today to this esteemed event. It's definitely my privilege and honor. So what I'm going to speak on today specifically is about your transition from your student life to the corporate life. This is something which we have all faced some point of time and is very close to my heart. So I hadn't written anything in particular, but just had my thoughts of what I wanted to speak on. As I understand, most of y'all, rather you're either in the first year or in the second year if you're MBA. So wherever you're placed right now in the MBA curriculum, final placements, and how you equip yourself to the corporate world are thoughts which definitely which keep coming to you, which had been one of the very basic thoughts which I had when I was in your place at one point of time. So today I would like to talk about two very basic aspects, but very important aspects, which you can say are two key mantras of how do you take this transition forward. Firstly, from campus life to corporate, more importantly, of course, you have your functional capabilities, your expertise, basically the reason why the corporates would hire you. That's the foremost questions probably in the functional rounds which come up. But then, it is a transition of the mindset actually which has to happen, which will make you take up the corporate life or rather sail through this transition very well. Now if you remember from the time you've entered your school days till now, it's been your grades, your certificates, your presentations which have always mattered, and that has actually contributed directly to the outcome, to your performance outcome. So it's your efforts, it's your hard work, it's your capability, your intelligence which has given the outcomes till now what you have got. But when you step into the corporate world, there is a radical transition from I to we. It's your performance outcome will no more be proportionate to the efforts which you alone put in. The performance of so many people will get intertwined with your own performance. Their performance also will get intertwined with your performance. You can never succeed in the corporate world in isolation. You will get accountable for the performance of so many people. Firstly, when you enter the corporates, it's going to be your peers, then your team members, and as you rise higher in the ladder, the more this perspective will get wider. You become accountable for your team, whether you are actually doing that work or not. And slowly as days move, you become cross-functionally accountable. Today, as I'm leading the HR of Innovel Energy Services, and by way of my role, I'm not only accountable for my performance, my team's performance, but for many other people's performance. Rather, the overall productivity of the organization is to a great extent attributed to HR, because we are the custodians of human resources, of course. But then, whether you're into human resource or not, your performance to a great extent will depend on the performance of the others in the organization. And there is where your capability of collaboration will come in, which is one of the foremost aspects which you have to put an effort to develop. Without collaboration, success in the corporate world, it's going to be difficult. And I know so many professionals, even in my organization, who could have actually done wonders as leaders, but are lagging behind because of the gap in the skill of collaboration. Now, no offenses to any generations as such, but due to certain societal changes, be it nuclear families or whatever, the generation today, as we observe in the market, as well as what researchers say, there is a huge gap in this skill set of collaboration. And that's one of the reasons I chose to discuss about this. We see it in the contemporary world, in my, not only our organization, and various other organizations when I discuss with other professionals. So this is something which you have to consciously develop in you, and that is where your sense of empathy, your communication skills, your understanding of people, these things will come in. Only being good at your specific work will not fetch you the performance results. Some of you might have already studied about Tuckman's theory of forming groups. It starts with forming, storming, norming, performing. So it's all around collaboration and teamwork, which, trust me, is extremely important when you step into the corporate world and if you want to become successful here. All successful leaders have good collaboration skills, skills of empathy, communication. These are all skill sets which you can start working on from now on. The next thing which I would like to mention is the transition again from theory to corporate, rather from theory to practice. Dr. Pathak was also mentioning about this some time back. We learn a lot of theories in our MBA class, right? Starting from SWOT analysis to 4Ps, 3Cs, blue ocean strategy, red ocean strategy. But is it so easy to actually implement that in the practical world? Of course it's possible. It's not that it's not possible. But to be able to implement these strategies in the practical world, you have to be extremely grounded. You have to not only understand the business of the organization that you're stepping into from the very grassroots level, but also the ground realities for which you would have to be extremely grounded. You have to interact with the last mile employees of your organization, because that is exactly where the business is operating, not in the boardrooms. Boardrooms are for discussions, but the actual inputs of it come very much from the ground level. Pricing strategies are very easy to understand in the classroom, but then to make the salesperson understand and reach it to the finally, or rather implement it to sell the product, is not so easy. I'm working in a renewable energy sector currently, where we harness solar power. It sounds very nice that we are contributing to the sustainable development of the country. We are helping the country to migrate from non-fossil fuels to non-renewable sources of energy. It sounds good. But then the reality in the fields, it's tremendously challenging. There are so many issues which come up on the field. And to understand those issues before we actually can implement or take any decision in the organization, any concepts which we want to adopt in the organization, the first step that we follow is to understand, or rather to have inputs from the ground level technicians of the organization, because they are the best people who understand the realities of this implementation. We can take decisions in the boardrooms, or we can discuss in meetings in the corporate offices, but at the end of the day, the final impact is going to come on the field. If you go back to history, there have been a lot of emperors who have failed actually. The main reason for their failure, if you actually delve in and try to understand, even the extinction of the Mughal Empire, is not because of there was no capability, or it's not because there was lack of intelligence, but it was lack of initiatives which were not implemented properly. And implementation can be proper only when you get back to the ground realities. So as MBAs, we are happy to be MBAs. We learned a lot of theories, but we have to be really, really grounded to be able to implement those in the practical field. If you talk about Tatas are one of the business conglomerates who pioneer in safety, health, ethics, and so on. So way back, after the formation, so they had a steering committee, which you might be knowing about, which worked towards the health and safety of the employees. Though they had taken a lot of decisions, a lot of initiatives to safeguard the safety of their employees, there have been gaps in the past. And then they realized that whatever decisions or whatever initiatives they have taken, they did not take into consensus the experience of the workers at the shop field, or rather at the on the factory floor. So then what they started was to, on a regular basis, interact with the workers, which they term as safety walks, where managers used to interact with the workers regularly to understand the hazards that they are facing, to understand the challenges that they are facing. And that is when their processes and policies of safety became robust. So a good leader becomes a professional becomes a good leader when theory matches the practical implementation of the field. So when you finish your MBA and have your degree and step into the corporate world, so these are a couple of things which if you keep in mind, it will help you to sail through your journey in the corporate world, not only your first placement, but as you grow up higher in the ladder. We say mind is everything. It's all in the mind. So it's just a mind shift, the way you think, which you need to change, and you will sail through. So best of luck to everyone. So with this, I would like to conclude my speech.